Heyo, and what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the SledgeHammer Wrestling Show. We've got breaking news, man, and it is WrestleMania season. We are right in the middle of it. Compound that with the fact that TNA is undergoing a regime change and probably a rebranding that will be happening. There's lots and lots of news, lots and lots of stuff going down. Contracts are expiring. Contracts are not being renewed. Matches are being speculated upon for WrestleMania. Some on the verge of being canceled, possibly. And let's get into the news. Our top story today being Jack Swagger has been released from the WWE. Swagger asked for and was granted his release today, or possibly yesterday. In an interview on Chael Sonnen's podcast, he revealed how unhappy he was with his direction in the company and them not giving him proper opportunities anymore, and that he would be asking for his release, and it has definitely happened as of this minute. Standard no-compete clause when you leave the WWE keeps you off TV and not allowed to compete anywhere else for at least 3 to possibly 6 months. Where does Jack Swagger go from here? It is absolutely terrible to see this. He is one of the guys that have been around. He was on his 9th year, I believe, just about to hit 10 years with the company. He always, to me, was in that Cesaro kind of level, which was a very underrated, very underutilized talent. And it's no wonder why the guy was busted smoking weed. Because if you were being used the way he was, if you remember him being put with the fucking Eagle back on SmackDown, he had his little fucking Eagle buddy doing his little it was nonsense. It was trash. It would make me want to fucking release and not have to get so angry all the time. So why wouldn't he fucking toke up? It unfortunately ended up with him being suspended during what was probably the last relevant run he was actually having at the time. The 34-year-old Oklahoma native debuted on WWE television when ECW was started as a third brand. September 2008, I believe, and he entered into ECW feuding with Tommy Dreamer, as most people do, and ending up winning the ECW Heavyweight Championship from Matt Hardy at the time, and we will get to a little bit on Matt Hardy in just a few moments. He was later traded to Raw, where he would end up winning the Money in the Bank contract match at WrestleMania 26, eventually going in to cash it in on SmackDown against a weakened Y2J Chris Jericho, winning his first ever WWE Heavyweight Championship at the time. He also is a former United States champion, winning it once on Raw in January of 2012, defeating Zack Ryder. Probably most known to most of the fans nowadays, or the more current generation, not most known for, but will probably be remembered mostly for We the People and his team with Cesaro, managed by Zeb Coulter, the new head TNA creative writer. And I loved that team, man. I loved Jack Swagger. I liked Swagger and Cesaro. Was always very surprised that they never got a run with the tag team titles. Everything that happened with Sheamus in current day WWE with Cesaro is exactly what should have happened with Jack Swagger. They were over as fuck. The crowd was into them. It started off just like the New Day. Everybody booed them. This is stupid. Nobody likes Zeb Coulter. But you have to respect effort. You have to respect work ethic. And Jack Swagger and Cesaro were a phenomenal team. Two fantastic talents that both were wasted on the roster at the time. They put them together, much like, as I said, they did with him and Sheamus right now. And it got over then, it got over now. But for one reason or another, maybe it's because he was one of JR's boys, one of JR's final signees when he was the head of talent relations and talent development. It's a shame to see Swagger go. I hate when people that had tremendous potential are just fucking thrown away by the wayside, like Cody Rhodes and now Jack Swagger. The list can go on and on. It's useless to talk about it, but an unfortunate situation, and I hope that Jack Swagger finds his way. What's next for the big guy? There's whispers of him possibly trying his hand at MMA like most of these guys do. His amateur wrestling background might, lend to him being a little bit successful in that department, but he is, like I said, 34 years old. It's a little old to get into it. Batista did it, though, and he was much older. I believe he was in his later 30s when he stepped into the world of MMA. Didn't go well for him, obviously. I don't think it'll be the last we see. Swagger's big enough, at least, and has a fan base big enough that we'll probably see some type of a return to the company in the future. But don't hold your breath. And with the rebranding of TNA, it's quite possible that in a few months we see Jack Swagger, obviously not under that name, show up on Jeff Jarrett's new TNA, which I'm excited to see. They're talking about changing up everything. They're going to change the name. Many people speculating he's just going to brand it Global Force Wrestling, which was his promotion that he's been running out of Tennessee, and now bring that to a national level and just change the whole thing up, man. And that'll bring us to our next story, which is the departures from TNA. This week rather, has been very interesting as far as comings and goings. And it's making me feel like I used to feel back in the day during the Monday Night War. I mean, even though TNA is nowhere near as relevant as WCW was at the time, it's making for some great news stories. It's making for some great buzz for pro wrestling, and letting a handful of their top stars just walk away from the company is baffling to me. And that only shows me that Jeff Jarrett's intention has nothing to do with anything that Dixie Carter had her hands on. He's got a handful of talent that has signed with the company before Anthem's Giant Bird fucking sports company bought them out. And I believe that list is very short as well. It's Bobby Lashley and Davey Richards, Eli Drake, unfortunately. I believe EC3. A handful of people that don't really matter to us. Maybe he's going to build them up separately. I don't know. It's interesting. Mike Bennett, the Miracle. Maria Kanellis, his wife. Drew Galloway, former TNA champion. Matt and Jeff Hardy, current TNA Tag Team Champions. Former Knockouts champion Jade. And now add to the list Alberto Del Rio, who had plans in place that were supposed to be debuting on tonight's TV taping of Jeff Jarrett's new Impact Wrestling. And those plans have been scrapped. His angle, his booking, his push was being championed by John Gabruch, that most of us will remember from WWE TV's Tough Enough days. He was a trainer back then. Was in charge of TNA, has been in charge of TNA creative for quite a long time, which doesn't speak well for his track record, if you want to be honest. And he had this whole plan for Del Rio to come in and be a big star, get a big push. And with Zeb Coulter, oddly enough, his former manager in the WWE, coming in and taking the pen, taking the book, he scratched that shit right out. And Alberto Del Rio is now not going to be part of the new TNA Impact Wrestling, whatever it ends up being called. Another unfortunate situation for another tremendous talent. I mean, all his personal situations aside, Alberto Del Rio, why wouldn't you not want him in your company? So now, the best thing for Del Rio, and maybe even Jack Swagger, is, hey, go test the waters in Lucha Underground. Maybe they both show up in Ring of Honor. Maybe they just make a whole shitload of money on the independent scene. But I hope both of these guys find their way back to some success in one way or another. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the Hardys. Being that we're in this TNA topic right now. Even though they're no longer part of TNA, they've made that clear. But I don't want to get too into it and go too over my head with any of this, because Matt Hardy's fucking crazy. So he tweets things on a daily basis that make you just go, what is he doing? He's tweeting threats to Bray Wyatt. He's tweeting to Sasha Banks. He's now tweeting to people in New Japan, talking directly to the Young Bucks, saying that he's going to see them soon, tagging the Elite Pro Wrestling and New Japan, and making people speculate that now they're going to go there and they're not going to come to the WWE, and the expedition of gold that they're on is going to put some kind of a stop to their WWE dealings. I'm not going to go crazy about it. The most interesting part of this story comes from the WWE itself and what's been being kind of thrown out there, which is that their interest in bringing back the Hardys mainly lies, as always, with Jeff. They want Jeff back, promising that they'll give him a major push and a limited schedule, similar to what Chris Jericho's got going on. And they want to push him as a top babyface of the company. They're supposedly not that interested in Matt, which baffles me because he is clearly the bigger star. But in the WWE universe, that is not the case. And that concerns me. And Jeff Hardy, thankfully, wants nothing to do with anybody that doesn't want anything to do with his brother. He's looking out for his family. We're a package deal. And he's coming with us. So it'll be interesting to see if they do in fact sign and come back. If we'll even get a broken Matt Hardy. Or if they're going to book him to a point where he's just going to say, you know what, screw this, I'm out of here. And Jeff, you do what you got to do. It might be one of those underhanded WWE type things like, all right, we're going to promise them everything. And then once we got Jeff, we're just going to do whatever the fuck we want. That's what the story leads to me. They want Jeff. So we'll have to take Matt. Are you insane? As of right now, that dichotomy, that dynamic of Jeff being the bigger of the two stars is no longer the truth. Matt Hardy has outshined Jeff on every level right now, even in the ring. And as I said in an earlier show or on the audio podcast, Jeff Hardy has to calm it down. He has to learn to wrestle a new style. This is another guy that's up in his career, later in age. His body cannot do or take the bumps he used to. So it's time for you to adapt and change, like AJ Styles did, like Samoa Joe did, like Edge had to do later in his career. These guys changed it up. They took less risks and did more wrestling, and it only makes your career better. So I hope, personally, for Jeff Hardy, that that's what he ends up doing. And, it's all speculation, man. This is all going to end up being one big work. No matter what happens, the Hardy Boys are going to end up back in the WWE. One way or another. If not this year, then by next year. If not on the active roster, in the Hall of Fame in some aspect, some way, they'll be back. If they make a quick stop in New Japan, that remains to be seen. I don't see that working out well. The New Japan crowd is like a no-nonsense kind of crowd, and I don't think that they would get broken Matt Hardy. I don't think it'll go over well in Japan. I think he might just have to tone it down or be a little bit more respectful and not play with the fans while he's over there. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. But the expedition of gold, if it leads him there to win the championship, all they're doing is raising their stock. All they're doing is adding more zeros to the check that the WWE is going to have to write out. And they have time. And the biggest interesting part of the whole thing is they are going to be in and around WrestleMania that weekend. It's well known that on April 1st, they're going to have some big match against the Young Bucks. And April 2nd is WrestleMania. And that event against the Young Bucks is just a few hours away from Orlando. So we do not know what truly lies in store. But do not be surprised if they show up. That remains to be seen. And finally, since we're talking about WrestleMania, we're going to talk about The rumors that are going on saying that the Big Show versus Shaquille O'Neal has been canceled or is on the verge of being canceled. And these rumors are going around because when you see the shape that the Big Show is in, it is obviously he's taking this whole thing seriously. When you take a look at Shaq and you watch NBA and you watch ESPN, where he's a correspondent now for NBA TV, and you see him, he does not look like he's in any type of athletic shape. That does not mean that he cannot take the next 4 weeks and get his body to a point where he could perform, but I think that the Big Show is looking to go out big. I think he knows that his time is up. He's known his time is up. And this might be his last marquee match at WrestleMania. His last chance to be part of a WrestleMania at all. We don't know what his future plans truly entail. So he's going for broke. He's ripped himself to shreds. If you haven't seen the picture, look it up, man. Or I'll try to maybe put it up on the next broadcast. The Big Show looks fantastic. He's taking this seriously. He wants to go out looking good. Now, if that is truly his intention, a match with Shaquille O'Neal is no way to go out, bro. Get yourself a good opponent. Put over a young kid. Maybe hold it off. Do it for Braun Strowman. Make yourself have a nice last little run. Make it relevant. You know? Try to put him over. Get him over with the fans. Tell the fans that this is it. This is going to be Big Show's retirement. Build it up and build it up. And then you have Braun Strowman be the one to take him out. He gets a big send-off. He waves goodbye with his 7-foot gigantic hands. And then we see the Big Show in the Hall of Fame next year. And he will never go away. He'll come back and he'll do this and do that. Possibly be a general manager one day. He is very entertaining, and I think he would be better in that aspect than he is now, because nobody wants to see him wrestling in the ring. But if the Big Show's running things, general manager or commissioner or whatever role you want to put him in, I think it'd be much more interesting, because his character, his storytelling, his comedic timing, it's all good. It's all good. So putting him in an on-air role like that would be much more beneficial. Not at the commentary booth, please. Just leave him as an authority figure of some type. Let him work down with the kids at NXT in the Performance Center. The Big Show's set. He's got a job for life with the company. He's a company guy. He's done everything they ever asked him. He's made himself look like a jerk-off. So you have to respect the Big Show. And I hope that if this match is canceled, that they find something better for him to do. And don't just throw him in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal or whatever they would usually do. And that's it. Those are the big breaking news stories today hitting the world of pro wrestling as I woke up this morning and checked the news. I seen the story about Swagger last night, but at that point, it was not finalized. All I knew is that he asked for his release. And I woke up this morning to find out that it actually happened. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget, if you have not, to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. Tune in for more. Each and every week we got live Raw and SmackDown reviews, and do not forget to check out the exclusive audio podcasts available now on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Podbean. Support the show on Patreon if you can, starting for as low as $1. You could become a patron and support the show. I am Nick Nightmare. This is Blue the Snowball Microphone. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you later for more news, rumors, and highlights in the world of sports entertainment right here on SledgeHammer TV.